Nagas. Because no journalists were allowed to come to Nagaland. No reporters were allowed to write about what the Indian Army is doing in Nagaland. Newspapers were banned in Nagaland. The first newspaper called Citizens Voice Weekly newspaper, which published about how Naga villages were burned, was banned by Nagaland government only, because they have to follow the dictate of the government of India. So our experience traveling through the horrors of Indian Army's atrocities. We have filed cases in the Supreme Court of India, in the Guwahati High Court, in the DC courts at Dimapur, Kohima, ADC courts, wherever it is, to record the atrocities of the Indian Army. In the midst of this, ceasefire came, hope for a peaceful solution came. But by then, Nagas were already divided. NSCN was formed in 1980. An anti-Shillong Accord group of NNC was formed. Nevertheless, life went on. Life went on under the bullets of Indian Army, under the boots of Indian Army, and most of all, killings among the Nagas. After Nagas split into NSCN and NNC. So when ceasefire came, we thought we must make the most of this. This was long before FNR was formed. And so when ceasefire came in 1997, we were able to go to the United Nations for the first time. Earlier, government of India would never allow us. So in 1998, when we went to the United Nations to speak about the sufferings of the Naga people, coincidentally, Isaac and Moiva came to Geneva to renew the ceasefire agreement on July 31. General Tenosile also came to Geneva on his own to meet people in the UN, and perhaps, I don't know, with the hope to meet Isaac and Moiva, I don't know. But I happened to meet all three of them. I asked them, why don't you take the opportunity to meet? They said, yes, but where can we meet? Rasta di lo corona pare. Tanda sa ni ko da sa tada jawana pare. Asag mo ko da sa attention tata hiuna pare. I said, my hotel is free for you. So July 30, July 31, 2 days, three of them met. And you know what? They met after 30 years. In 1967, under the leadership of Moiva and Tenosile, Nagas went to China because the first round of ceasefire and political talks were going to bound to fail. Because Indira Gandhi says that nothing doing anything under the sun, but not sovereignty. Nagas knew nothing is coming. So they took Naga soldiers to China. Tenosile was the armed commander. Moiva was the political leader. Their Chinese government says, Nagas, you become communist, and we will give you more than arms and money, more than you can carry. Our leader said, if you want us to become communist, we will not take even a single bullet from China. And then they come and recounted those stories after 30 years, in 1998. After 1967, they went, 1968, they came back. Tunisia more proceeded to East Pakistan, represent Bangladesh. They were caught up in the Indo-Bangladesh war. They were jailed in Dhaka. Isaac and Moiva were in Eastern Nagaland, so-called Burma, now Myanmar, the military term. And they have never met. After 30 years, they met and they were sharing their stories. How they struggled to Burma, how they broke guns. bullets, and how many people died on the way? How many were drowned in Geneva River? They were smiling and chattering like children. How happy it was to see their face on the first day. Second day was to talk business. So Tennessee told them, please come back to NNC. This is the Naga body, where the Naga movement started. We must come back to NNC. Isaac Moiva said, yes, who doesn't want to come back to NNC? We all love NNC. But because of circumstances, we are from NNC. We have registered our membership in UNPO as NNC. We have signed ceasefire with the government of India as NNC. Ito nimite, inakakinakang nam change ko. Wait for some time. Maybe the right time will come when God will enable us to come back to NNC. That was the reply. In the meantime, they asked Tennessee to join them. Let us work together again. Like when we went to China. Let us work now, there's peace. You don't have to struggle like before. But they could not come to terms. On 31st July evening, Tennessee walked over to the cafeteria of the United Nations UN where I was there. I said, Uncle, how did it go? Nothing will happen today. With his head bowed down, he was murmuring to himself, if I join them, what will I tell my people? What will I tell my Angami friends and Chakasans, my supporters? The Naga public had enslaved him. He's a leader, he's a German general. But he could not take decision for what he thought was right. Today, even now, that situation is exactly the same. If there are 20 or 24 factions, it is the Naga public who has created. Because you want your own heroes. You have your own agendas. You want to settle the issue with your enemies or your opponents through the national worker leaders. I'm sure today, as they look at each other, if they remember the memories of working together, fighting the Indian army together, crawling in the jungles of Burma, I'm sure in their heart of heart, how they'll be loving each other. Ramponi is known for baptizing more than 100 persons in Burma in one day. Such achievements are rarely told or even heard. Slowly by slowly, all our leaders are going away. But the arrogance of the Naga public is becoming stronger and stronger. Today, when I hear at my former speakers, it's frightening. It's frightening. They're able to talk very big things. They're able to say brave words. But if the situation goes back to zero square, back to square one, how many people can walk their talk? For that matter, even me. Who am I to question the integrity of the Naga public? I'm also responsible in many ways because I hate some of the faction leaders. I love some of the faction leaders for my own selfish interest. That's why my perspective, as Hekami says in the morning, reflect. Every individual take a moment of reflection. This is the message I wanted to share today. Honestly, I did not want to come. I'm so fed up. I've worked with FNR since its formation. But there are certain limits to everything. But human tendency, we don't want to see the end as long as there is sunshine. We want to stop grazing greener pastures. And that is where the fate and the future of people who can develop and grow into a better person are also sealed sometimes. In short, American national leaders can ki kura chhe tahan ke aro blame na kurabi. Nijer ke blame kurabi. If you want them to unite, you stop supporting them. They will unite. But they want to join each other. Nikki and whatever. If they said we'll join Hebron today, you think Hamas will forgive them? You think Hamas will forgive them? When I met Singya after 30 years in Chiang Mai, I thought wife is here. I was asked by Dr. Wati to go and facilitate the meeting. The moment they saw each other, started shouting, whatever. Auntie Esther went on her knees to the ground, in the cemented ground, in the corridors of the hotel. In between them, American stop galti kore American stop galti kore child baby. How many women had the hearts to go and tell that in front of her husband, you were so wrong, he was also wrong. Stop it from there. How many women, mothers, or sisters, we talk and shout, we sing, but in action, how many of us are willing to walk the extra mile? We're talking about Naga situation, solution, sovereignty. I tell you, NC was formed to remain whatever strong, saying that Piso is taking the Naga story to the United Nations and will be independent. So we waited for 30 years for Piso to go to UN from the London. He has gone a couple of times. After the ceasefire came, some of us, from 1998, as I mentioned, till 2019, I was also able to go to the UN in different UN platforms, including the Human Rights Council and other. But the UN, knowing fully well that Nagas are right, they're even afraid to entertain. In one occasion, in 2012, the UN was conducting an expert seminar on governments who have entered into agreements with struggling people, indigenous people like Nagas. And I was asked to come and present the Naga story. What kind of agreements Nagas have been going through with the government of India? So I went and cited 9-point agreement with government of India themselves backed out. 16-point agreement, and I say only thing visible in 16-point agreement is the inner line regulation, clause 16. Clause 17 is the so-called, or 7 is the so-called 371A, which is argued back and forth. We're making chutney out of even those provisions. After that, they signed again Shillong Accord. Government of India never honored, even though in Nagas also didn't honor. Not a single agreement government of India has honored. And they signed another ceasefire with the NSCN. I told the UN, if you want to find that peace come to people in Northeast, and especially Nagas. Please monitor what government of India is signing with the Naga people. They're going to backtrack even on this ceasefire agreement. Now you're talking about framework agreement, which is 26 years now. Agreed position. I don't know. For the Eastern Nagas, okay, sorry, but you asked me to come and speak, you want to stop me to speak. That's the problem. Anyway, the government of India's situation is, they have options. And they say the most ideal option is to implement the framework agreement. But government of India has difficulties. So you must appreciate government of India's difficulties. So I replied in my own individual capacity to the government representative. Remember, Nagas have tried to be a gentleman in the past. But you are talking about government of India's difficulties. Nagas are going through a stage where every single Naga is waiting for the opportunity to call the others a traitor or a betrayer. So where do you think Naga leaders can go? Understand our difficulties as well. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and sorry for the extra time.